Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. My co-pilot for this evening's festivities, none other than the Grey Wizard of historical knowledge himself, the Silver Fox, Eric Smith. How you doing tonight, Mr. Smith?
Swell.
Swell?
Yeah.
That's the word you thought about. You knew we were going to go into the intro, and you had to come up with a word, and that's the one that popped into your head.
Yeah, it literally popped in my head because I didn't think about it at all. So
I'm glad.
I'm doing swell,
and I'm glad. That makes me happy, right? Because that means you're coming in here with absolutely no conceived notions of how. Or
no. No.
That kind of leads me into my next point here, folks. One of the things I've started doing, and I'm really enjoying doing this, and I want to elaborate on how this works now because I'm not sure I have yet. But all of a sudden, people that have been following the show are like, what the fuck? It turned into a newscast. And that is true, but that's not entirely true. So what my process here has been that I read a lot, right? I mean, You can attest to that, Eric.
Yeah.
And I read for amusement, not for necessarily for. I do it for entertainment. Is what I'm doing it for. So I come across these science and technology news articles and things, and I find the headline to be humorous or interesting, and I want you to understand, right? I don't go much more than maybe a paragraph past the headline on these when I add them to the list,
right?
Because what I want to do is I want to read through these with the podcast hearing me going through it for the first time, like and the things. I guess my reaction to it is kind of what this is.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And the same for me, because I have no idea at all what we're going to talk about.
Right. To expand on that, what we've chosen to do this week, which is going to be even more fun, and Eric actually made this suggestion the last show that we did together, was that he shouldn't know even what the top of the headlines are.
Nope.
So we can see. So, maiden voyage of this, folks. Not really. I mean, this has been kind of evolving and happening, and this is sort of the latest iteration of it. So that you understand that when I'm reading these, especially when I get tongue-tied on some of the names, it's because I haven't read these articles and figured out how to pronounce some of this shit. So, welcome
Not
to...
everybody's got a clear, concise name like Buttafuoco.
It's it's a travesty of the world we live in, man.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. I mean, people could have really fucked up names like Smith.
Yeah. That would be terrible. And generic, like Eric.
So this is how this is going to go down, right? So yeah, I mean, that's where this is coming from. We thought it would be interesting to do it this way.
No, that's how the show's going to go down.
So let's see what the hell happens, right? We can always delete this later.
No.
All right, who's this come from? Well, the article is sourced from the website androidpolice.com.
Halt.
That seems so okay. So on the bullshit-o-meter scale, I don't know.
Already registering 32.
All right, so I wouldn't trust these people to tell me give me health advice. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so the headline, quote: "Some guy modified his Roomba to swear when it bumps into shit." And now okay, so I had to bring this onto the show, man. Like we have to talk about this, right? And it looks like this guy's like, what does he look like? He's 14?
Yeah, he looks like the guy from Spider-Man.
I bet they'll tell us. I wonder if they'll tell us. He's on YouTube. Michael Reeves is his name. The website says we're primarily an Android blog, but we also cover plenty of smart home gadgets for our readers. And today we got something special. Some guy on the internet, Michael Reeves over on YouTube, tweaked a Roomba to swear when it runs into shit. And it's funny because they have it runs into things, lined out stuff, lined out, and then shit. This is like a crowdsourced article of some sort.
I think that's great, man.
I mean, a wonderful use of technology and an education right there, man. I mean, if for nothing else, make the machines make us fucking laugh.
Well, yeah, and it shows like the proliferation of technology too. I mean, like it's all around you in every form. When we were younger, there were no robot brooms, right? But now technology is such that your
On the
broom is
cartoons.
robotic. Right.
The Jetsons had that shit.
Right. But not only is it ubiquitous now to have robot brooms and stuff like that, but it's so ubiquitous that people are easily adapting themselves to getting into them and changing their programming enough to make them do neat little things.
Yeah.
Make them specialized,
I know I don't think I have anything. I did a couple of episodes here recently on AI, especially.
Yeah. We talked about the Walmart AI.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just in the grocery store this week and was talking to the lady there about the self-checkout lanes. And she said to me, she confirmed it. I'd read this, but she confirmed it that they're just about to the point now where they're going to start putting the hand scanners into the stores.
Mm.
So literally while you're shopping, you're scanning the shit and throwing it in your cart.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end and it's like bag it and tag it, let's go.
It's kind of cool.
And they just sort of spot check they just look at the receipt and see if there's anything in the cart that's not on the receipt, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like they do at the big box stores like Sam's Club and BJ's and stuff. And that's how you're going to start buying your groceries like pretty much everywhere.
That's kind of cool, man.
The self-checkout lines, though, I asked her, I said, what do you think? Have these been a success? And she said to me that she was on the clock and was not allowed, and it wouldn't be a good idea for her to discuss her personal feelings. There's a woman that stands near these self-checkout lines, and her job is to come in and unfuck everybody that can't figure out how to scan the barcode, put it in the bag, and that you can't just like scan 3 things and throw them in because it has to there's like a weigh scale, like
every
they can't
time. Yeah.
You have to do it the exact same way every time, so they're generally just a train wreck. But this next thing with the scanning the items and throwing them in your cart, I mean, I don't know, I think that's a lot harder to screw up. We'll see.
Well, just like this guy here did with the Roomba, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Roomba, yeah.
Roomba?
Yeah. I don't know how you pronounce
with
it.
That in 1998, 99, I can remember taking that clip from, I think it was Full Metal Jacket, where the sergeant is yelling at everybody. And the drill
so
sergeant.
The first quarter of the movie.
Yeah, right? And I took that scene and I clipped up everything he said, and I used it for the sounds in my computer for a sound scheme.
Okay.
So like when an error message would pop up, it was a drill sergeant, and it would say, "You had best unfuck yourself." Every time there would be an error, it would yell at you. And there was like, for everything it would do something like that, it would yell at you. And when you confirm, it would say, "I can't hear you." Or it would say, "Are you sure you want to delete?" And it'd be, "I can't hear you."
Michael Reeves says, I could offer a summary of the video itself, which includes a public exhibition of the device in a Target retail store, but I don't think I could do it justice. If you can handle a bit of swearing, you could just watch it because it's amazing. From a technical standpoint, it's not a terribly complicated modification. Reeves gutted his Roomba so that it could no longer clean and fitted the freed up space with some pretty cheap hardware like a Raspberry Pi, radio receiver, Bluetooth speaker, and a handful of new sensors. When the Roomba bumps into or is remotely driven into something, a Raspberry Pi starts swearing like a one-eyed carpenter over a Bluetooth speaker. Don't you wish you had one of these at home? So it's an interesting gadget. However, it doesn't actually perform any function anymore other than bumping into stuff and swearing.
Well, I mean, my robot doesn't serve any function either.
Yeah, you actually do have a robot, don't you?
Yeah.
You're in like some special club to have that robot, though, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Probably not. A lot of people have that particular design.
All right, you have to elaborate now.
Well, he's a musical robot. He goes around and he bangs on things and does rhythms.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that thing work. I know you've had it for a while, but I don't know why. But for some reason, I've never been like, "Hey, make that shit do
right."
something."
Yeah, it does. It avoids walls and stuff like the Roomba does. It avoids things and can see. And if it gets near something that's up the right angle, it will mosey up on it so that it can get its arms, which are really just 2 mallets, and then it will just start beating on a wall or the floor or whatever.
And it like plays music and dances and stuff too.
It doesn't dance, but it plays rhythms.
Well, listen. Okay, I was wrong to say that Michael's Roomba that bumps into things and swears doesn't serve a purpose, because it does.
Entertainment.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's amusing as shit, right?
Yeah.
My buddy bought his mom one of those, and she gets into fights with it. She's one of the most wonderful women, and she's in her like late 80s. Just an amazing lady. Mad respect for her, and has just been a huge influence on me growing up, because she's always been so practical. Like, she's just one of them women that is like that. You know what I mean? And so he bought her a Roomba, and at first, because she like crochets and does different things like that, so it was like eating her yarn. So she ends up in these like fights with it, where she locks it in a room, like, you stay in there and think about what you've done, kind of shit, And so every now and then he has to go over, because it'll get like she's one of these women that is super practical. So she'll do things like use a roll of toilet paper instead of buying a box of Kleenexes to blow her nose and stuff with. And it got under the bed and ate ate a roll of toilet paper, and it was like, so every now and then he has to go over and like take it apart, clean it out, get reservice it, put it back together, put it back into service. But she's gotten to now she's to the point where I think she wants another one.
See, that's how the Sabbath was born.
Out of artificial intelligence and robots?
Kinda, yeah.
How's that?
Cleaning things, mostly. Well, because that's
need
what
to
they
be sanitary kind of thing, right?
No, they said that's one of the things that they thought that was being carried around in the Ark of the Covenant was an object called the Ancient of Days. It's described in a Jewish text called the Zohar.
Okay, yep.
And it was supposed
I've
to
seen
be
illustrations of it on Ancient Aliens.
Exactly. They've got flowcharts and stuff, and it was supposed to be a device that spat out this sort of
manna from God, right? It fed.
Well, it was like a fruit roll up of kelp, kind of.
Okay.
It was like.
So it was like a bioreactor of some sort. It like grew like some sort of Yeah, that's right. They theorize. I've seen that.
Yeah,
right.
It would take in moisture, and it would, if you ate this stuff, it would provide you with enough water as well as sustenance. And it's the same stuff they've given to astronauts and as hunger relief for third world countries and stuff. And they think that it made that, and that's what they survived on in the desert that was referred to as manna from heaven. But once every 7 days, they were supposed to break this thing apart and clean it all out, because it would get all gooed up as it made this paste-like substance.
That's right.
And that was the Sabbath day.
Yeah, there's a book based on all of this.
Maybe
I can see the cover of it in my head. Like they took engineers and scientists and had them like take the specs for this thing and like reverse engineer it and figure out what it was.
Yeah,
that's
through the
what
description in the Zohar.
That's what they came up with.
Yeah. One of the guys I think that was involved in it was the inheritor of the Vidal Sassoon portion.
Well, that's convenient, huh?
I guess.
He has fabulous hair. And he's a conspiracy theorist, and he has fabulous hair. Oh, no. I don't know. That's probably wrong to categorize him as a conspiracy theorist. He's just someone that took this and like.
All I know is now when anybody talks about cleaning out stuff once a week.
That's what you think about?
I think of the Sabbath, every time now. Like, oh, God.
Well, this kind of plays into dark forest theory. This comes from Big Think, a terrifying explanation of why we haven't heard from aliens yet.
I seen that, but I didn't look at it along like 2 days or 3 days ago.
Well, you're about to educate us here, right? Because this is the kind of shit you love. The Fermi paradox asks us where all the aliens are if the cosmos should be filled with them.
That's true.
The dark forest theory says we should pray we never find them.
Oh, my gosh. That's what Stephen Hawking says, too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He said they probably wouldn't be benevolent.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what, yeah. They would not be interested in being our benefactors. We would not hold any consequence to them much at all.
The Milky Way galaxy has 200 billion stars and perhaps 100 billion planets. If even a small fraction of those planets harbored life, and even if only a pathetic scattering of those planets. I like how they use the word.
Are they going to talk about the Drake equation?
Probably. Pathetic scattering of those planets had life forms which became intelligent. Our galaxy would be teeming with alien civilizations.
Teeming.
That's a good word, right?
I guess.
Some of whom would be either looking for us or discoverable for at least a little while.
Okay. I get it.
So who was it that said if life is so persistent, where is it? Right?
Yes.
That was a scientist, right?
Fermi, yeah.
That was Fermi.
Enrico
Okay.
Fermi, yeah. Worked on the atomic bomb.
Well, I just read it.
And he was
that's just a paraphrase of what he actually said. Is that what it is?
Well, I believe he was referring to the Drake equation, because that's the equation where when you plug in all the variables, and depending upon how you set those variables, there can be a lot of life.
And what do you call that?
The Drake equation.
The number of alien civilizations the galaxy should have can be determined by an equation.
Yeah.
The Drake equation.
That's right.
That turns
That's right, damn it.
that turns the above factors into variables. When you plug them into the formula, you find that there should be at least 20 civilizations in our cosmic neighborhood. Where are they?
Yeah.
This makes the fact that we have yet to find any other life in the cosmos almost shocking.
Shockingly bizarre.
Almost.
Perhaps even.
When you think about it, this seeming discord between how many advanced civilizations ought to be in space
and nothing,
and the lack of evidence
versus a big old pie of nothing,
big old fucking zero for any is known as the Fermi paradox.
Woo!
It has led to dozens of hypotheses and potential solutions over the last few decades.
Possibly.
It's very likely that we're in a zoo.
Yes.
It's very likely
the zoo hypothesis.
We're in
Are they going to talk about it?
Simulation. I don't know.
Oh.
Many of the solutions aim at one of the variables in the Drake equation and try to make the supposed number of civilizations lower, so it is more reasonable for us to not have met anybody yet.
I love the phrase. It's more reasonable not to think that it's
numbers,
teeming with
man.
life.
They're fudging the numbers. Some propose that life starting at all is rare. Others suggest that the development of intelligence is the bottleneck. Others still posit that most civilizations would live for a short time before blowing themselves up. Conversely, never even managed to invent the radio to begin with.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting thing, those bottlenecks, because there's certain inevitabilities, right? If people are going to advance into a civilization, any alien species that would advance into an advanced civilization would inevitably come across the fact that if you turn matter into energy, it's going to go boom real big. You know, they're going to figure out how to split the atom and release the energy inside of matter, and then they're going to have atomic weapons. And it's been a dice roll with us since we've had atomic weapons, and there's still huge potentials for just simple accidents that would be devastating and world-ending. So there's more than one bottleneck like this, but that's just one of a few bottlenecks at least that would be inevitable for any species that was advancing, and that they would literally have to get past, because they will find this technology, because it's everywhere in nature, before they'll ever have the ability to cope with the knowledge and use it in a civil way.
I heard that I don't know who the agency is, but they manage the atomic clock. It's like to midnight to when nuclear war.
Armageddon clock.
Yeah, and they moved it 2 minutes forward. Here recently, and it's like, well, fuck, man.
Right.
That's not the right direction.
I don't even want to have to live in a world where you measure something so precisely.
Oh my
like
God!
That. How about we just stop?
How macabre is that? Jeez.
Look, we're 10 seconds closer to annihilation. 10 seconds closer to annihilation.
The Dark Forest solution explains why we haven't heard from aliens by positing that they are purposefully keeping quiet.
Is positing like depositing?
I think it's not. The reasoning is laid out best in the science fiction novel The Dark Forest by Lou Cixin.
By Lou Ferrigno.
That's Cixin, so I'm swinging in at that one.
Yeah, now see, that's an obvious giveaway. That's an author name.
Yeah, that's somebody that's that's a pen name.
Yes.
The plot of the book, the second in a series, concerns questions of how to best interact with potentially hostile alien life.
Aside from run.
I knew you were going to like this article, Eric.
How shall we best interact with them? Run.
Fucking, where are you going to run to?
I don't know.
All of a sudden,
just run.
All of a sudden, everyone's going to realize we're all on the same fucking rock, and there's no place to go. That's when aliens. Okay.
There's a bright outlook to that, though. So, look, the zoo hypothesis, right? You know what that is, right?
Well, I think it's what he's about to talk about here.
But before he lays it out,
Do enlighten.
look, here's the positive view of that, right? It could be like Star Trek The Next Generation. It could be that we live inside a giant federation of planets that has worked this stuff all out as much as possible for a galactic civilization. And just like in The Next Generation, they use warp drive, right? When they go from point A to point B, you don't see them going from point A to point B. They warp out of space, make the journey, warp back into space. So we're never going to see their ships flying around. They use subspace communication. Same thing. They beam something to a buoy, which goes into warp space, beams that communique through warp space to receive by another buoy in warp space that then unwarps and comes out into normal space and transmits it on a short distance, right? So
dude, that shit's all so yesterday now, though. I'm into quantum entangled communications now. It's
still,
instantaneous
whatever.
Across space and time. Whatever.
But you see what I mean, right?
I do. I'm just busting
Yeah,
your shit.
just it could be any form of communication. It could be quantum entanglement. It could be. There's lots of things that they could do that we wouldn't be able to detect. And without warp capability or the ability to go faster than light.
You're right. With a quantum entanglement communications, there's no way to intercept that.
No.
You have to have the receiving sending unit.
Not that we know of, at least.
Right.
And so I mean, if you didn't have the ability,
Geordie LaForge could figure that shit out.
Yeah, but we couldn't.
Not us.
And if you didn't have the ability to go faster than the speed of light, it's not like you could wander over and see what's anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Like they could have minimum cloaking ability of
But that
sorts.
would sort of go against Hawking's sort of hypothesis that they wouldn't be necessarily benevolent.
Right, exactly.
That sort of says they
I'm not
are.
saying I believe in this hypothesis at all.
Okay.
I'm just saying this is like the Gene Roddenberry view, right? It could be, because there's even an episode called First Contact, I believe, where this planet is on the verge of developing faster than light travel, so they get a visit from Picard, right? And they're like, hey, man, you guys are going to find out really quick now that you can travel faster than light that there's like hundreds of planets and governments and, laws and stuff. So are you sure you want to do this? And like the planet rejected it. Like the planet's like, look, I don't think our species is ready for this.
Prepared.
We don't even have a one world government.
Maybe that's Area 51. Maybe that shit's already happened.
Maybe
man.
it has. And that's when, you could totally be living in a Roddenberry Star Trek universe all around you and you would never know it. Never.
That's kind of, okay, so.
Unless an accident happened, right?
Yep.
And that's why I don't believe in this zoo hypothesis that I just outlined, is because entropy would mean that there would be inevitably some kind of mistake and it would be known.
Yeah, but how would we know that, to play the devil's advocate, not that I believe any of this, right, per se, but how do we know that them accidents haven't already happened and then we're subsequently some margin of truth in some of these fantastic stories about places like Area 51 and Roswell, New Mexico.
Because if something like that
kind of
happened, it would be known. It would be well known.
That's what I mean. It is. They're claiming that these things happen.
Yeah,
and they're also claiming that the government.
But as long as you can say they and claiming.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for instance.
Like I said, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here.
Right, yeah.
But this is the argument. This is how these constructs get started, right?
Anything real in life is empirically testable.
Yeah.
Anything that you could all agree upon has empirical experiments that you can repeat, and they're always the same because they're like facts of nature. They're laws of physics, right?
Well, they're highly repeatable.
Yes, highly repeatable.
Always the same might be a little bit of a stretch, you know what I mean?
So to say that there's the possibility of aliens, for instance, right? If there was, I guess I just doubt conspiracy. I doubt the ability for people to keep secrets of that nature.
Yeah.
And even though you hear people leaking these things, like Bob Lazar, who was supposed to work at Area 51 or whatever, and he has been on record numerous times stating that they have alien bodies and technology, right?
Yeah.
I think there would be more. I don't think they could keep a lid on it, man.
Yeah.
I just don't think they could keep a lid on it. And if you think about it, if there were truly alien species and they didn't have some kind of a code, like in Star Trek, they got the Prime Directive.
Right.
They can't interfere, right? And you realize if you weren't living in the Federation, you were living in the Klingon Empire, they'd just kill you and take your shit. That'd be it, right? You'd be lucky if you did live in a place like the Federation and you realize this, right? So, but I mean, inevitably there would be somebody who would break that law. Even in the Federation on the shows and stuff, there's like pirates and people who don't follow the law. They're
That's
still
right.
humans,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And they would come here, and you would know. It would be impossible to keep such a big thing as a universe teeming full of life a secret. Roddenberry has these great ideas, but they're like utopian ideas that are improbable, that everybody's just going to be okay with these things. But no, somebody would come, somebody would reveal the secret. There would be people just like there are on our planet today that would do nothing but revel in revealing the truth.
I've always struggled with. Okay, so here's a concept though, right? Given what you're saying, but I've always struggled with this concept that that these beings, the Anunnaki sort of idea that humans were genetically modified on purpose, and why? To mine gold. And that's where it all falls apart for me, because it's like you can warp space and time, you can travel across the cosmos, but you need gold. And we already know from a physics standpoint that you can transmute gold. It just takes a shit ton of energy to do it.
Gold
right?
is not rare in the universe,
and that's okay. So that's what I mean. Like,
they wouldn't have to come here for it.
What the hell would they have come here to? So the whole
not
slave.
Gold, no.
And we were bred as like a slave race and all this by these aliens. That's what I mean. Like that whole thing sort of falls apart for me at that point.
That particular thing that you're talking about, the two or three problems I have with it is, first of all, because the laws of physics are the same throughout the universe, you're going to find gold in other places. There's even other places, like in our own asteroid belt, where there's far more gold in that asteroid belt than we have on our planet. Gold is not indigenous to our planet. Our planet didn't make gold, right? Gold is a cosmic substance.
You're saying all the gold on the planet arrived here, like came here from asteroids and shit like that kind of thing?
And from the sun, yeah. It's not, the Earth didn't make it. Like the Earth makes diamonds, right? It compresses carbon with pressure and makes a diamond from a piece of coal, right? But the Earth doesn't make gold. The amount of gold that's on the Earth was deposited here by the prior star in this area that exploded before our sun even existed 5 billion years ago.
Okay.
That gold was just lying around and got aggregated into the planet.
Right.
It wasn't formed on the planet, it came with the planet. It's like a part of the planet, and there's a finite amount of it, right? That's why it's rare. But it's not rare in the universe. It's not rare in the cosmic sense at all. No,
right,
they could go to any number of places and find plenty of gold. They wouldn't have any real reason to come here. And like you pointed out, from an engineering perspective, if they had the ability to cross vast distances such as light years, they should have the ability to mine gold or transmute
it from lead or
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, or beam it up or whatever.
Yeah, so
right?
what the fuck would they need slaves for?
They wouldn't.
And again, if they could cross the universe, right? What the hell would they need these monkeys for?
Yeah. Why go through the problem of elevating monkeys to human standards to do something a machine could do?
Because if you can do that, trust me, you would have have automated machinery.
We're building that now. That's more efficient than us. They would have that
exactly.
So there's those things, right? Plus, this whole theory comes from a guy named Zachariah Stitchin.
Yes.
And the way he came about this theory was he read Sumerian tablets of cuneiform stelas.
Yeah.
And he got this interpretation from them where every other person got the mainstream interpretation from them. Like we all know how to read cuneiform, right? Like the people who know all agree that they know what they're reading, right? And that they all agree that it's this, right?
Okay.
Then there's this one dude that's reading this, Zachariah Stitchin, and he's like, oh, no, it's not what you 23 people think it is. It's this completely different thing about aliens elevating monkeys with genetic surgery and having them dig gold. I mean, like, that's like...
Well, wait a minute, because, and I get all of that. However...
That's like everybody reading the Doom book and getting that it's a story, but one guy getting that it's a travel brochure.
But when you need those people, man, that definitely challenge accepted norms. They have to. You have to have those people that
challenge
are out there.
Them, yes, but not spend a
because
life career
that's how
writing
we've
12
ended up,
books, going down the rabbit hole.
Dude, at what level?
Like, when do you stop? When do you be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, maybe I'm wrong and maybe you guys are right? And, I mean,
I dig it. I totally get what
I
you're
feel
saying.
like people that do
Yeah.
that just want to stand out in society and be something different and special.
But because there are people that are willing to go outside of the accepted orthodoxy, we've started figuring out and finding civilizations that are much older than our archaeology for years would allow, to the point where they would just ignore some of this shit and outright, like, that doesn't fit the model, so we're just going to pretend like it doesn't even exist. So there's two sides to this coin.
I don't think they're pretending like it doesn't exist. I think that they're just being extraordinarily cautious with rewriting history books. I think that they're trying to be like any good scientist, and they're being really cautious before they overturn something. And I haven't heard any mainstream scientists deny things like Göbekli Tepe or any of the things that are like that.
No, that cat's out. Yeah, those cats are out of the bag. Okay, but there's a lot of shit here in even North America.
Okay, like I know what you're talking about, like in Kentucky and stuff, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff here that has not been answered for, and the people that tried to come out and say, look, there was civilizations here way before, like what we've even understood is there were civilizations here. A lot of them would have their careers destroyed and different things. So
possibly
as kooks, So look, I like these people. I like the people that run on the outside edge. I'm not going to dictate my life by their claims by any stretch.
Too.
But I like these people, man.
Yeah, me too.
You always got to have someone pushing the limits,
or
the limits never move.
I agree.
Right?
Totally agree. And hopefully they will someday.
Yeah.
I hope that mainstream scientists are at least objectively listening to these things.
Yeah.
And I hope there's nobody denying them or not paying attention to them. I hope that it's a matter of people just being unwilling to fund these people. And if that's synonymous with destroying your career, then more power to them. If that is this path and the scent that they are onto, and they realize that they're not going to get any good funding because it's not grounded in something that everyone's aware of, I still hope they push forward.
Sure. Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, that's like these people that are out spending, buying these high dollar laser gyroscopes and all these different things to prove that the world's flat, right?
Yeah.
All they're doing, unfortunately, I don't know if you've seen the documentary on it, it's really good, but all they're actually doing is proving that the world is flat. They're just doing tests, and their tests keep coming up, basically saying not only is it not flat, but it rotates and it's so many degrees per minute, and like they're just reconfirming all of this data.
Yeah,
and that is a good thing because they're inadvertently doing some really good science in the process, and there's never going to be too much of validating an accepted fact, right? Like I don't care. These yes, they're a little quirky, but we need them. They need to exist. Because sometimes they figure shit out because they look at things completely different ways.
This is true. But with some things it gets rarer and rarer. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like the laws of physics. When not so long ago they were talking about the machine that they thought worked on pilot theory, and it didn't have any moving parts, and it was producing thrust that was greater than the mass.
Is this the radio wave transmitter?
I don't know. NASA
thruster
was supposed to be testing it.
Yeah.
And they had pictures of it that kind of looked like a giant orchestra instrument or something, like a tuba kind of.
Yeah. It would spin. It would spin like on a counterbalanced, and
it was like funnel shaped. It was
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just stopped hearing about it?
Yeah. The last article I read on it was they figured out that it wasn't actually violating the laws of physics, and they explained how it was working.
Right. Okay.
But it actually does provide lateral thrust from electricity. But it's not violating any.
Right.
It isn't over unity. There's no. They just had to figure it
Some
out.
facts are so solid
Yeah.
that if you do try to think outside of them, it's really hard on you.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that it's not, like with genetically modified food.
Right.
I mean, it's really hard for people to get any funding for that because there's not a lot of people that's interested in it, and there's like groups that are against it.
Sure. Yeah.
So, that is something that's been beneficial to mankind with stuff like golden rice and stuff.
Yeah.
Allowing people to either grow in wet soil or to cure blindness by putting vitamin E.
Oh, I didn't say ignorance is not bliss, man, and it's often very dangerous too.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. All right, so.
But what do they say about?
What do you mean?
The zoo theory.
In the novel, the argument is laid out like this: all life desires to stay alive.
Yay.
There is no way to know if other life forms can or will destroy you if given a chance.
I will kill you.
Lacking assurances, the safest option for any species is to annihilate other life forms before they have a chance to do the same.
So they're literally like, yep, we should kill them before they kill us.
That's what the book says.
Wow.
Since all other life forms in the novel are risk-averse and willing to do anything to save themselves, contact of any kind is dangerous, as it almost assuredly would lead to the contacted race wiping out whoever was foolish enough to give away their location.
Isn't that game theory like the prisoner game theory, where you know they pit people against each other and they're asking them questions? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Illuminate me.
I don't know if I can, because I'm not like super familiar with it, but it's a part of game theory, and it's a game, and I've played it a few times, and I can't remember what the details of it are, but it's like we talked about it in philosophy too. There could be any number of players, and you know what, like you're A and you know what B did, right? You know you can turn B in and have him guilty, and B knows what you did, and there's all these interactions, right? And
Machiavellian, or whatever they call that, like intertwined, insidious, intertwined. And
like the best way to win at it or to break even is to not say anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just keep your mouth shut. Snitches get stitches,
that's kind of what they're implying, is that you're in a dark forest, right? And that you need to, the best thing to do is to not reach out.
Is to shut the hell up.
Yeah, and hide. Because reaching out, you'll get your hand smacked. And
this leads to all civilizations attempting to hide in radio silence. From his book, The Universe is a Dark Forest, every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful, because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him.
Yeah.
If he finds another life, another hunter, angel, or a demon, a delicate infant to tottering old man, a fairy or demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. Well, this is just fucking full of joy.
Yeah, man. It's, and you know
Good
what, too?
Lord.
It's like oversaturated fantasy. I hate to be a bad critic here, but I mean, this seems...
You fucking, listen.
Okay.
It's a bit like The Prisoner's Dilemma, really, and the concept is based on applied game theory.
Yes. That's like immediately I'm listening to this and I'm like, wait a minute. He just extrapolated game theory is all this guy did here. And he threw every science fiction element he could possibly think of in it, from demigods to machine guns.
It was also put forth by scientist David Brin as a potential solution to the lack of radio evidence for alien life, while the variant he describes relies on robotic probes carrying out the task of killing off civilizations other than the one that created it. The core concept remains the same. In this excerpt, he explains why this solution, an attractive one for scientific purposes and terrifying for existential reasons. Quote,
They're out
here, I'm about to bring you some more of this book's joy. It is consistent with all the facts and philosophical principles described in the first part of this article. There is no need to struggle to suppress the elements of the Drake equation in order to explain the Great Silence, nor need we suggest that no ETIS anywhere would bear the cost of interstellar travel. It need only happen once for the result of this scenario to become the equilibrium condition in the galaxy. We could not have detected extraterrestrial radio traffic, nor would any of ETISs have ever settled on Earth, because all were killed shortly after discovering radio.
This is the author trying to justify his mess of amalgamated fantasy, science fiction, and drama that he's wrote.
So we're roasting this fucker. Is what you're saying.
I'm just giving a strong opinion, man.
Okay.
because look, it's like overripe fantasy, right? It's not rooted in anything specific.
Right.
It's a little of this, a little of that. It's based on the extrapolation of game theory, which I recognized immediately.
Yeah.
So if the plot is that thick, I really hope that it's the drama is going to entertain me, and it doesn't look like it's going to because it's like an A-Team episode already. And I'm like, and then the guy's fucking justification is, it's totally consistent with what's going on, and it can you don't have to say that there's not aliens. Like, isn't that the most simplest explanation? Well, yeah, they're just not there, dude. They could be, but they're not for whatever reasons. That's why we haven't heard it. No, that's not it. It's because they're all going dark. They're all going radio silent, dude. They know the storm's on the horizon, and here it comes. It's got a gun. It's got a machine gun. Oh my God! And we got to go dark. And you know what I mean? It's like, well, that's weird, man. Like, oh, never mind. I'm not reading it.
So I was right. I was right about this article, huh?
Yeah.
Like, woo! Holy shit! That's good stuff. All right, moving on here. We're going to change it up a little bit. Let's get off of benevolent aliens and talk about benevolently sexist men. This comes from Big Fake. Study finds heterosexual women prefer benevolently sexist men.
Wait, what?
I'm just reading the article.
What's that mean? Benevolently
It's been demonstrated that women are more attracted to men with attitudes of benevolent sexism. And a new study asks why. We're about to find out. That's why like I said, man, I don't read these
See how
before.
Interested I am?
I just saw that and went, boy, that sounds like a headline that should piss a lot of people off. Let's read this article. It's a minefield. The article says it. I didn't. It's a minefield. Another new study presents evidence of what heterosexual women want. That's how you know this is flawed to begin with.
Because they presume to know what heterosexual women want.
You're fucked. Women, period. Okay.
They know what women want.
So I'm taking this with a big old grain of salt right now. Still, the lead author of the study is a woman, Pelin Gull. Her co-author is Tom R. Kupfer. The study recently published in Sage Journals. Okay. What the hell are Sage Journals? Hang on. I don't even know if I want to keep reading this. Let me go to Let me go see what this Sage Journals bullshit is. It's a personality and social psychology bulletin. Society of Personality and Social Psychology.
Cult of personality.
All right, sorry. This kind of looks like a legit thing here. So, okay. So, little smaller grain of salt. Let's see what they say.
It's still salty.
Okay, the study recently published in Sage Journals is called Benevolent Sexism and Mate Preferences. Why do women prefer benevolent men despite recognizing that they can be undermining? Previous studies suggest that this happens more often than you'd expect. Benevolent sexism, or BS, amusingly enough, is an existing research term that refers to an affectionate but patronizing attitude that treats women as needing men's help, protection, and provision, i.e., as being more like children than adults.
Everybody likes to be coddled.
Yeah, right? That doesn't necessarily... Right, okay.
Everybody wants to spend time being the princess, and everybody wants to be time being able to save the day.
Yeah, this feels a little clickbaity. I got to be honest with you. We haven't coined the term benevolent sexism. Previous researchers did, Gall tells PsyPost. What she does see as her concern is finding out why women would prefer... blah, blah, blah.
Like there was some confusion and they might have preferred benevolent sexism.
That almost looks like Daenerys Targaryen right there, Inferno. The goals of the study.
I don't know. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons.
I'm going to bail on this article, dude. I don't think that's...
I see psilocybin mushrooms. I bet that's interesting.
Denver to become first U.S. city to decriminalize magic mushrooms.
Magic with a K.
So you recognize those from the picture, did you?
Yeah, all the way over here.
Updated May 9th. This is from Thrillist. Despite early reports indicating a measure to decriminalize magic mushrooms in Denver appeared to fail, the Denver Post reported Wednesday that voters actually approved it by a small margin. The city will officially become the first in the nation to decriminalize the psychedelics mushrooms.
I love how the majority is that we should all be doing this, but they still want to be. It's a small margin. Don't worry about it. Just most of the people.
That's how everything's decided anymore, anyway. Isn't it? Colorado is known for being a chill state.
Yeah.
It was one of the first to legalize recreational marijuana use in 2012, giving new meaning to the phrase "Rocky Mountain High." Some parts of Colorado are naturally more progressive than others. You think?
Some even get more done.
Yeah,
because they're not like tripping and smoking.
What
weed.
the fuck? Take Denver, for example, which has been testing the state's overall status as a forerunner on drug reform policies since legalizing marijuana possession in 2005. Now the city has attempted to become the first in the United States to decriminalize recreational use of magic mushrooms. The vote to decriminalize, not legalize, here we go with that shit again, the use and possession of psilocybin mushrooms took place on Tuesday, according to a report by CNN. It appeared on the ballot as an Ordinance 301, or the Denver Psilocybin Mushroom Initiative, which sought to deprioritize, to the greatest extent possible, criminal penalties imposed by the city of Denver for the personal use and personal possession of psilocybin mushrooms. The ordinance wouldn't legalize the mushrooms, but would prohibit the city from spending resources to impose criminal penalties on those using or in possession of them.
Yeah, the cop finds the mushrooms. He's like, yeah, you got your mushrooms. Enjoy the park.
Yeah, right.
Why are they hanging out in the park for 5 hours?
They just stare at shit.
Yeah, just watching the pigeons, man.
Voters appeared to reject the Denver Psilocybin Mushroom Initiative as of Wednesday morning, with 52% not in favor, despite little organized opposition in the city, according to NBC News.
I wonder why.
Well, they were all in the park. But pro-psilocybin advocates remain hopeful for the future. So is this saying it was legalized or not? It's like,
it is a bit confusing on that, isn't it? It sounds like they're saying they spaced at the end, like, yeah, they weren't really organized or anything, but we got good hope for the future.
I think the people that wrote this for Thrillist were on psilocybin mushrooms, because they've simultaneously won but not won. Blah blah blah. Now we're going to go into the genus of them, whatever.
I just love the juxtaposition of the lines that they were very disorganized. You know, they weren't really organized, but they have hope for the future.
Right.
It's like, I don't see much hope for the future if you're that disorganized.
So I have no clue, man. I'm flipping through the rest of this article here, and I cannot find.
Was it written in Denver?
It's from Thrillist. It's from Caitlin Hitt. Let's go take it. Caitlin Hitt. No shit, that's her name. Caitlin Hitt. She is.
Hitt.
Articles by Caitlin. Let's take a look at Caitlin here. She's all into the Game of Thrones thing, man.
She sure is.
She's really into that. McDonald's is changing up its all-day breakfast menu.
Important.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thrillist. I have no clue who Caitlin Hitt is.
Well.
Caitlin Hitt could be a Russian bot for all I fucking know.
Yeah.
Because that is the worst author page I've ever seen. Like, there's nothing here about the author. So, yeah, that's probably some bullshit. That's why the article doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was written by an
Bot.
algorithm.
Yeah.
This comes from Science Alert. People who always point out grammar mistakes are pretty much jerks, study finds.
Or smarter than normal, maybe. I don't know.
I like how this picture here is from Skulldog06.
Skulldog.
It's like a geek in front of a really old desktop PC.
I'm not sure if that's a geek, though.
I might be a scientist.
Yeah, I mean, he might be a geek, but I mean, he
That
doesn't.
definitely looks like pornography on his monitor there.
Oh,
though.
it's not Game of Thrones.
No,
That's
that'd be
the only thing
I
on
tell
computers
you,
anymore.
That would be a really old computer. That's a really old computer. I don't even know if Game of Thrones could be ran on that. He's got to be on a bulletin board, man. He's like,
is that a pack of cigarettes and an ashtray up there?
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
right
See,
in front
that's
of the
why he's not a
monitor.
geek.
Oh, and he's got a cup of coffee right there too.
Yeah, man.
Oh, look, 5.5-inch floppies.
Yeah.
Look at that, boxes of them.
Real floppies.
And the glasses, dude. The Sally Jesse Raphael glasses with the '80s haircut.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of sells.
Does he got
it.
a little mustache, too?
He does, yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, a little catfish action going there, Bubba.
Yeah, he was heading into the 70s and getting a man stash.
Yeah, buddy. Look at them sideburns.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, that panel wall.
Is he wearing plaid?
He is. He's definitely wearing plaid.
Is that Cools?
There's a phone call. There's Cools, and that's a phone cord. So, Scientists have found that people who constantly get bothered by grammatical errors online have less agreeable personalities than those who just let them slide.
Less agreeable personalities, you dick.
Well, okay. Let's reread that sentence here. This is from Science Alert. Scientists have found that people who constantly get bothered by grammatical errors online have less agreeable personalities than those who can just let them slide. So basically,
people that pointed out,
people that get upset by shit are dicks to be around more than people that don't get upset by shit.
No, people that point it out are dicks. You could get mad, but if you let it slide, you're not a dick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You just can't point it out. That just means you're a dick.
And those friends who are super sensitive to typos on your Facebook page, psychological testing reveals they're generally less open
and neurotic.
And are also more likely to be judging you for your mistakes than everyone else.
Well, I mean, I think we all knew that those kind of people were like that anyway.
Are we learning anything from this? In other words, they're exactly who you thought they were.
Yep.
Ding, 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 ding,
yep.
ding, ding, ding.
And if you're letting them slide anyways, then you're either looking for better grammar or,
So that sounds
like them.
That sounds pretty obvious, but this paper, which was published in PLOS ONE in 2016, was actually the first time researchers were able to show that a person's personality traits can actually determine how they respond to typos and grammatical errors, and it could teach us a lot about how people communicate or miscommunicate online. Quote, "This is the first study to show the personality traits of listeners, readers have an effect on the interpretation of language," said lead researcher Julie Bulland from the University of Michigan back in 2016. "In this experiment, we examined the social judgment that readers made about the writers." I got to be honest with you, man. When I read an article and the grammar's all fucked up, and like I'm an engineer, and even I can get shit to spell right, right? And I see stuff like when I'm seeing it, it makes me be like, I don't trust this person anymore.
Dude, when I was in college, when I would read the textbooks, if I'd find any like editorial mistakes, grammatical errors, or just printing mistakes, I would totally circle them, and then the next day in class, I'd bring it up to the teachers.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy. It's terrible.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But I mean, like my English teacher, like I had like one English course that was like, when they give you your tests and they're like, hey man, you need a math course,
right,
and an English course to get up to college level. Like, I took the English course, and I remember the teacher, she's like, You're a natural. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you don't really know the rules to this, but you write like you do. And I'm like, well, it's just because I read all the time and I see it like this.
You see how it goes.
Yeah, and I know this is how you're supposed to use these things. And she said, oh, you're going to be fine. It's like, she said some people just are like that, and they adopt that whole aspect of quotations and marks and commas and all that, along with the words and the spelling, or they don't. And that's how it's always been for me. I've always, in my head, seen visions of or heard things with pauses and explanations and weird shit like that, when I'm reading. So I paid attention to them because they were one of my few sources of entertainment when I was young, like 10, 11, 12. And I would be like stealing books from libraries because I was moving around so much, and I would read them.
You weren't really stealing them; you just moved before you could bring them back.
Yeah, but I knew that at some point in my life.
That's not really on you, dude. That's kind of on There's some parental intervention there at some point.
But God, I relished that Oxford comma. As a young man, and I remember it.
You loved that sucker.
I did.
Huh?
That's what's wrong with all these people pointing it out. They have some love affair with grammar. They're naturals now. Anyway.
All right, this article comes. Fuck that other article.
Yep.
They didn't really tell us anything. Like, wow. So welcome to my world. Popular Mechanics thermal battery holds 1.2 megawatt hours of energy in a 20-foot box. You're the first. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
Why is that such a big deal?
Because that much time and energy in that space, I know that sounds more cosmic, right? But, like battery technology is why the phone is as big as it is still. They're one of the last things they've been able to shrink is batteries. So there oftentimes a battery is a toss-up between how much space you want to use up and how much life
Yeah.
of functionality you have in an electronic device.
Yeah, you're right.
And they all degrade.
Yeah, and they all lose their ability to recharge and different things like that. When you start getting into 1.2 megawatt hours of electricity,
Yeah, you're talking about some.
That's like city power generation plant levels of storage for an hour.
And
so
like a Volkswagen.
So basically, you could store a city that consumed 1.2 megawatts or less electricity in 24 of these boxes, and that would run a whole day for that city if it lost power generation.
And it looks like it would fit in the back of that van to the right.
Yeah, he's definitely saying 20-foot box. I mean, there's could prove to be far more efficient than traditional lithium-ion alternatives. A company called CCT Energy Storage just put Lonsdale, South Australia, firmly on the map. Okay. In late March, the startup unveiled that very first high-density thermal battery, which outperforms its lithium-ion and lead-acid counterparts many times over. Boy, I wish I could get rid of that. I can. No, I can't. Let's see. Called a thermal energy device, or TED, the modular unit stores electricity as latent heat, which can be converted back into energy on demand. So it's hot.
Yeah, they use that like in electric cars on the braking. They use that excess heat from the braking to.
Sorta. That's called dynamic braking, but there's a whole. But yes, what would normally be scrubbed off as heat and friction gets turned back into reluctance that gets put back into the batteries, right? Let's see here. Okay. A standard TED unit can store 1.2 megawatt hours of power and has a life expectancy of at least 20 years. Quote, after
20 years.
After 3,000 cycles of service on the test bench, CCT's CEO Serge Bondarenko says.
Serge Bondarenko.
That was really close to Bonafuco, right?
Yeah.
Says it shows no signs of degradation compared to lithium-ion batteries, which drop 20% of its capacity after about 5,000 cycles.
Which is almost 25, which is almost a fourth, which is a fourth. So.
Which is you do math good.
20% is almost 25, which is almost a fourth.
Quote, in fact, Bondarenko adds, it appears silicone even gets better at storing heat after each cycle.
Well, wow.
TEDs accept any kind of electricity you throw at them, solar, wind, hydro, fossil fuel, grid-fed, converting and storing that energy at more than 12 times the density of a lead-acid battery and 6 times the density of a lithium-ion.
Woo, again.
Right? Dude, this is a big deal.
Good
job,
guys.
They can charge and discharge concurrently, so you can be charging them
that's nice.
while they're supporting the grid, so that brownouts, things like that, they can fill in gaps.
Yeah.
Okay, that's huge.
Put an alternator in there somewhere.
Saving time and wasted energy. Compact and durable, the devices require very little maintenance and are 100% recyclable. And perhaps most surprising, they're cheap, about 3/4 of the cost of an equivalent lithium-ion setup.
How much? Three quarters?
3/4 of the cost, yeah. So they're less expensive than lithium-ion solutions. CCT, which stands for Climate Change Technologies, designed the units to be easily scalable and just as
scalable's nice,
appropriate for small 5 kilowatt applications. So that'd be like a home application, 5 to 7 kilowatts.
Scalable's nice, man.
As they are for an entire remote communities, business districts, telecommunications networks, and transport systems requiring hundreds of megawatts of instantaneous power. This speaks to the company's vision of a safe, sustainable energy source that can be used anywhere in the world, regardless of urbanization, economics, or infrastructure. This is badass,
Hell
man.
yes.
Because that's one of the problems with renewable energies, like specifically like things like wind and solar, is that, solar produces its most electricity when the sun's up. Yeah. And this battery storage thing has gotten to be a big deal, and it's a big deal also for traditional electric production. Did you know that? Because so you have to spool up, you have to provide more power to the grid than the grid actually needs, because you don't know when someone's going to turn something on. So you always got to be ahead of that, right? You follow me?
Yeah.
And
it's got to be fully charged to be drained.
So these power generation plants, you don't just go in and hit a button and they turn on. They're turbines and things like this. There's processes they have to go through to start up and shut down. So the way a lot of municipalities, one of the ways that they handle this is they'll have a generator that's just running, but it's not even really supporting the grid, but it's there just in case something hits the grid, so it doesn't take everything out.
Yeah.
Okay. This battery technology gives them the ability to not necessarily have to do that. You can store that extra capacity in something like this,
and have it be drained out when something hits the grid.
And then once that inrush or that load has been picked up by something else, then the battery just
goes back to
just
dormancy.
charges. It just charges back up. So it's like a shock absorber.
That's very nice.
So that's another. So these things are going to be a big deal because that means that the cost to produce electricity goes down because you don't need all that backup power sitting there running just in case.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, it's a big. Putting aside the fact that you can store the power from windmills, which is morning and night, right? Sun up, sun down is when windmills do their thing mostly. And I think, if I remember right, in solar panels is during the day. You get the ability to store that excess power to be able to use it at night.
Do you think people will complain the way they look, like they did with those windmills?
I don't think anybody will see these things, man. They're going to be
bury them underground.
Yeah, they're going to be in like utility sheds or something, right? All right, man.
Weapons of mass destruction and maybe dildos.
I
can't tell what that is back there.
This is from Fox News.
Okay, so
Arizona,
maybe dildos.
This is important shit here, Mr. Smith.
Right.
I am bringing you the most important news of news.
All right.
Arizona governor, see how important it is? Arizona governor signs bill legalizing nunchucks.
Hey.
Finally. All these persecution, all these years. It's now legal to own nunchucks in the state of Arizona if you're so inclined.
If you're that kind of guy. You like the nunchucks, go for it. I mean, I wonder how many deaths there's been from nunchucks, right? Like, I guess there's not many, right?
I wouldn't think so.
So
I could be wrong, though. But Governor Doug Ducey signed legislation on Friday to remove them from the state's banned deadly weapon list.
Ducey, they're just sticks tied together.
Until now, martial arts devotees had to worry about possible felony charges for carrying the weapon in public. Arizona had allowed people to use the weapon, consisting of 2 sticks connected.
Now, what are these kung fu people going to say now? They can't say, you know, I've trained you with a deadly weapon. It's a federal offense to even have these. And now you have knowledge to use them. Like, well, they're going to be like, no, anybody can. That 12-year-old kid has them.
Yeah, right. And here's a YouTube video, right?
Right. They just lost their mystique. It sucks. There's martial arts people are like, that sucks.
Oh, man, these aren't cool
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. Like, it was cool. I had deadly knowledge, and I had a weapon that's banned federally. I'm a deadly weapon. I got to register my hand. No, nobody cares.
The state... Nobody cares. Nobody cares anyway. It's
Carry
all,
your sticks tied together. We don't care.
What the
Enjoy
fuck?
yourself. Enjoy the park with your mushrooms.
There
Enjoy your sticks tied together. Whatever you need.
Well, what if... How... There's so many questions. I could just, like... The state has some of the strictest weapons laws, and lawmakers have tried to relax the restrictions in the past. Nunchucks...
No one was having it then.
Had been lumped in with bombs, gun silencers, and automatic firearms.
Thank you, 70s movies.
Dude.
Thank you, 70s movies.
I just got to say, thank God for the Nunchucks lobby in Arizona. I mean, what is that? Is that like who's on the Nunchucks lobby?
I don't know.
We've tried to overturn it in the past. I mean, there's people petitioning Congress, be like, dude, you got to get rid of this ban. Like, you care enough about nunchucks.
That also means that there's people that's still not having any of it, that's still like, you know, they're seeing Chuck Norris and all the bad side of the police and nunchucks or something. They're like, nah, man, we can't let nunchucks out. Then everybody would want to, like, smoke weed and get in fights.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't. What is the other alternative?
It must have. I mean, what did they have a rash of nunchuck assaults?
Exactly.
Going down in Arizona at some point.
I mean, the only bad rap I remember them having is that thing, right? The 70s movies where if you were and you were a badass, right? And you might be doing some street fighting or something, you know, like brass knuckles.
Oh.
Yeah. So like maybe it's it's like that cultural attitude or whatever.
So here's the lobby. Quote, the average person could do more damage using a baseball bat than nunchucks, said Representative John Kavanaugh. There's your nunchucks
Not to themselves,
lobby.
John Kavanaugh.
A Republican from Fountain Hills, ladies and gentlemen.
And lover of nunchucks.
Quote, they're not dangerous to anybody except for the person swinging them.
Yeah.
And we really should let kids and adults who want to do martial arts activities legally possess them. Oh, I get to quote McDojo Life. McDojo Life, big shout out, but they're in the article. McDojo Life, a media company that features mixed martial arts content, tweeted excitedly about the new measure.
Were they though? Were they excited? Because I feel like to them it's going to be missing that.
Oh
mystique,
my God,
man.
no. More nunchucks in the hands of untrained people. McDojo Life, then they get videos galore. People whacking themselves in the nuts and in the head and stuff with these things. Okay. I mean, they got, and they get to make fun of it. Those guys are funny as shit. I've actually gotten a shout out from him, so I give him another shout out back because that's the way I roll, bro. I'm rolling. Yeah, I figured you'd get a real kick out of that nunchuck.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Can't believe it. What's amazing is that at the point in time they made it illegal. Like
what the fuck happened? There was like a rash of nunchuck.
Gotta
assaults.
be the movies, man.
Ninjas fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
kung fu ninjas everywhere, man. Just lighting people up.
Well, remember how much the day after affected Ronald Reagan? He went back and started his Star Wars program after watching the day after.
That's. Put that together for me, because so you're saying that Ronald Reagan spent debt into oblivion because he saw a movie that scared him? Is that what you're saying? And started Star Wars?
Yeah, it was the day after, and it was directed by I forget his name now, but it was the Nick. I can't remember. He's the same guy that did Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. That dude. And
everybody gets that now.
Yeah, I don't know what it's.
Anyway, go
I
ahead.
forget his name. Anyway, it was a movie called The Day After, and it had Steve Guttenberg in it, and it was a movie about nuclear war. And legend has it that Ronald Reagan seen it in a private screening, and after that got a real hard on for the Star Wars program and started pushing it, man. And he had a similar experience with Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He started after he watched that. You started hearing him say things in speeches like, we would put all of our differences aside if aliens came down and shit like that. He would say things like that in his speeches.
Well, that's kind of enlightened, actually. When I mean, like to be able to consider it that way.
But they say it's because he's seen that movie in a private screening, just like he did the day after,
and it changed his perspective.
Yeah, so that's like people will see something like that, and they're just humans. They're just people. They're just guys, right? And they're going to be affected as much as anybody is affected by some kind of a movie, and they can bring you to all sorts of emotions. So, it's.
That's what good art is supposed to move you somehow, right? It's supposed to make.
And if you move someone with power, you hear about it.
This article comes from U.S. News and World Report. Extinct bird re-evolved itself back into existence.
Oh yeah.
Well, here's a new twist on the Darwinian model.
But that's
right?
happened several times again and again with
I've
that
heard
same
about
species.
This. I've heard about species of lizards and birds now have been documented that in captivity, they changed their sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, which tripped me out. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Like,
these birds here are flightless birds, and the fossil record shows that the island has went underwater several times and extinguished these species because they're flightless birds and they can't get away.
So these the poor bastards just drown, right? Why don't they just evolve wings then? What the fuck?
Because it happens too quick for them to evolve.
Okay.
But then it stays up out of water long enough for that when these species that are flight species will come there and they de-evolve their wings and become these exact same flightless species. And it's happened again and again in the fossil record. And then they'll die out when the water comes over the island, and then eventually
they don't have any wings. Look at them.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
They're cute. That one's got he's like in jail. He's wearing an anklet or something.
They're studying this shit now. Yeah, read the article. You'll see.
He's probably selling meth.
Yeah, that's what it was.
A once extinct bird species re-evolved itself into existence and returned to the island it once colonized thousands of years ago, researchers say. The Aldabra rail, named after the Aldabra Atoll.
Uncle of Abracadabra.
It inhabits in the, what the fuck? Seychelles, is the last surviving native flightless bird in the Indian Ocean region. It is a descendant of the flying white-throated rail that is believed to have lost its ability to fly.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of predators made it unnecessary.
Yeah. So when they get to this island, those flight rails turn into these things.
Fossils of the Aldabra rail have been discovered dating back 136,000 years, but the island has since been submerged by the ocean, wiping out almost all life.
Especially the flightless birds.
Poor bastards.
And then he like anything else that didn't fly or swim.
Quick, build a nest that floats.
Mice and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
The research published in the Zoological Journal of the Linnean Society, I don't know, revealed that the white-throated rail recolonized the islands, but researchers believe that after the sea levels dropped and the bird reappeared, it became flightless once again. Newer fossils showed that the Aldabra rail was heavier than its ancestor, indicating that the bird had lost its ability to fly.
It's
for
like
a second time.
It's like a board game. If you land on this island, you're done. You're trapped there. You lose your wings, and eventually the island gets covered with water.
It's kind of utopian for them, though. There's no predators, and they have
that's true.
unlimited food.
So they drown,
but every 20,000 years or whatever,
the universe is like, "Yep, you've had enough of that.
Enough of that fun shit."
Time to, the same thing with Eden. You know, everybody was happy in Eden, and all of a sudden, nope, you got to get flooded.
That's kind of it's the same thing, right? It just gets flooded.
They lost their Eden over and over.
Once the bird became extinct after the flood, it took only 20,000 years for the white-throated rail to return and evolve into the flightless Aldabra rail bird again. According to the museum, this is one of the fastest recorded timelines of a bird losing its ability to fly, and the first and only known time that a species of bird has become flightless twice. Well, that's why they keep drowning on the island.
Yes.
They're obviously not the brightest birds. Not real smart.
Not their choice.
Right?
Evolution.
That's what it is. There is no other case that I can find of this happening where you have a record of the same species of bird becoming flightless twice. Humi said in the release, it wasn't as if it were two different species colonizing and becoming flightless. This was the very same ancestral bird.
Just you land on the island, you're game over, dude. Game over. Game over, dude. We're going to live like a king, and then we're going to drown. Like, you mark this down, like, I got to study into this a little bit.
Well, no, this is so funny because this is what happens, right? As soon as you become fat and privileged,
nature abhors you and kills you.
Yeah, you lose your wings, but then nature comes along and smacks you, and like everybody dead, you know. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Twice.
Now think about it. With all the implications of the species and stuff that may or may not exist in the universe, how rare is it that maybe you're the only person that can look back upon hundreds of thousands of years and appreciate a joke that played out over 20,000 years and get a laugh out of it?
Yeah.
Maybe you're the only species or person in the universe that just did that.
That just did that. Huh?
Unless, of course, the universe is teeming with alien life,
and
everybody's
just
done
being
everything.
Really quiet.
Yeah, and going radio silent. And that's a big thunder.
Yeah.
Don't let them see you.
The call's coming from inside the house. Get out of the house. The call's coming from inside the house.
The aliens crashed on the earth. Get off the earth.
What the fuck? This comes from Maxim. I don't know what that says. Bigliani. I don't know.
I see the giant name of Elon Musk already, and I can't help but to think that reminds me of a perfume.
Look, every time I do a podcast, I have to talk about certain people. I have to talk about either Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk.
I just want him to change his name. I feel like it's a perfume.
Or Graham Hancock. Huh?
I feel like it's a perfume. Like we're going to discuss Elon Musk.
Elon Musk by Fabergé.
Yeah.
What's that? What would that smell like? It smells like what?
Well, look up and see what Elon means. It probably means something. It's probably a name.
You want me to check that out?
That might be interesting.
Let's see here.
I bet it means something. Like my name, Eric, is derivative, I think, of a Viking name, and it's supposed to be another word for king.
Okay. It's Hebrew. It's a masculine first name, or Jewish surname, which means tree or oak tree. In the Hebrew language, variants of the name include Elon, Elian, and a whole bunch of different. So it means oak tree.
So it's oak tree musk. Now I think it smells like an oak tree.
So what's he smell like?
An oak tree.
He smells like oak. He smells like oak. So he smells like.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're sitting here having a debate about what Elon's.
I don't even think we're debating.
What would Elon's Musk smell like?
Well, now you'll probably never see that name again and not think of a big giant oak tree.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
man. That's because
It's
this
my
is like
job.
somebody I really like, and now every time I look at him, I'm
Just
gonna
like
be,
a big giant smelly
I'm
oak
gonna
tree.
I'm gonna be like, well, I don't know what he smells like. Elon Musk reacts to viral porn video of couple having sex in Tesla on autopilot. I'm not even Maxim staff. This is from Maxim. Quote, should have seen it coming. Well, that happened. Someone decided to test the limits of the Tesla Model X XX and its ability to drive itself regardless of what's happening inside the vehicle by filming porn inside the car. Sorry, you'll have to screw up your search history and find the clip on your own. But we can tell you a couple things. The adult performer featured, air quotes, in the clip is a hot redhead, and Elon Musk seems pretty okay with all this, despite the fact he and his company would prefer vehicle operators remain alert no matter what.
Yeah, not erect, alert.
Her name is, what's this? What's her name? Instagram. Her name's Tesla? No, we already said what her name was, right? She's in a Tesla. Check out my #1 trending video, she says, on Instagram. So you can go check her out. Teslada. Okay, Taylor Jackson told the Register that she and her boyfriend were on a road trip, and he suggested the tryst. Quote, we both thought it was hot, she continued, and joked about doing it again and putting it on Pornhub. We thought someone had to have done it before, so we looked it up, but we couldn't find a single video. A few weeks later, I signed up for a Pornhub account, and this video was the first one. One of the first few videos I've made. For someone who appears to be relatively new to the adult entertainment business, Jackson hit a home run. Further proof, Elon Musk's apparent response. These are his tweets. Elon Musk says, quote, turns out there's more ways to use autopilot than we imagined. Turns out, should have seen it coming. Elon, stick to engineering. Quote, turns out, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I read that. Musk tweeted. Wonder what he smells like. Credit where it's due. Elon Musk is funnier than your average billionaire. I don't necessarily think that.
Did they just say funnier than your
Yeah,
average?
I think his appearance on Joe Rogan showed me.
I
want to
know what the science is behind determining the funniest billionaire. Like, how many people have participated in this research to begin with?
Well, obviously, what we think is funny and what they think is funny is two different fucking things.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that's funny, you don't know my friends. The clip is pretty simple. It's from the driver's point of view, and he picks up Jackson as if she's a Tinder date. Things progress from there. The Tesla zigging and zagging through traffic on its own as the couple gets busy in the front. Jackson said in a Business Insider interview that she did bump the steering wheel while filming, knocking the car out of autopilot. I wonder how she did that. But that was the only snafu. She did, however, also say in her Register interview that she wouldn't recommend anyone else do this since it's dangerous. Yes, and I wouldn't want the competition. You got to look at my booty video in the Pornhub thing. There.
Look, I know I'm a bit of a nerd, but I'm going to go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Well, it's a first, man.
It's a first, yeah.
Yeah, you got to the hats off, right?
It's kind of like making a classic car, right?
A lot more than hats off, but
yeah,
yeah, right, exactly.
You know, it's like the same thing as having sex on the hood of a nice Mustang or Corvette or something, right? They're kind of class iconicizing, or what's the word?
Sure, they are. Yeah, they're not going to watch the submarine races, kind of thing, like you said, or whatever. Now this is a new age, so it's like a new rite of passage, as it were. But why get in the back seat? Oh, maybe you can't because it probably senses if there isn't a driver in the driver's seat.
Well.
And like pulls the car over thinking you fell out the sunroof or some shit.
Just consider what Luke Skywalker wouldn't have done if he would have been able to bang a girl on autopilot for his land speeder. He would have stayed there in that farm, that moisture farm.
And that moisture is so moist. It's moisture farm.
Just saying.
The most seasonable response of all came from Pornhub in a comment left on Jackson's video. Quote, reporting you to Elon for not having two hands on the wheel with the autopilot enabled. In all seriousness, though, don't try this in your own Tesla. No, man, you get it on the upholstery. Or any other vehicle with an autopilot function, especially a passenger plane. Oh. So bound to happen sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. She's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave some claps.
You did clap. Speaking of the clap, no, I'm just kidding. That was horrible. So that's our big bucket of stuff,
Woo.
Eric. That's our new sack of shit right there, man. That's
Bucket.
through it. So it was like obviously I picked the articles. Thought that you would resonate with them. How do you think I did?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And the whole doing it live. That just said doing it.
Doing it live. Doing it live.
We should probably wrap this up here at some point very soon because this could pun city dad jokes and the end of the No Shit Cast. It could be right around the corner here.
Like we said, this is how this show is going down.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you check us out at www.noshitcast.com. That's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Keep checking us out, leaving comments and shit on YouTube. Really appreciate it. I just got a comment here today, as a matter of fact, but I doubt I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, if we get enough comments, we could do a thing where we read comments and talk about them.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about doing stuff like that. But I like to give people a shout out too if they put on something. Like someone commented, it was a great interview. It was one we did with Neil Thompson and Sherfu Kariaga. And the comment was that was good interview with thumbs up. So
we can extrapolate a lot from that.
Person's listening. Thank you. So fucking specific. It's amazing. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. Hit them like and subscribe buttons, and certainly hit a subscribe over on YouTube. We're like in the 90s. We just need to get over the hump, and then we get our own custom URL on YouTube, because YouTube is a pain in the ass.
I'm going to go home and play Pac-Man and listen to Hawkwind.
Hawkwind, ooh. Well, you do that. You have fun with that. But thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you all next time. Bye, Signals.